You're in a meeting. Your boss cuts you off. Your team missed the deadline again. Your blood pressure spikes. You want to defend yourself right now. Stop. That's the amateur move, and it just cost you your next promotion. The ancient Stoics found 5 traps that kill your composure when you react fast. Master these 5 traps. You'll never lose control again. Trap 1. The public attack. Here's what just happened. Your boss didn't just criticize you. They used the audience as a weapon. That's trap 1, the public attack. When someone calls you out in front of others, they're not looking for facts. They want to trigger your fight or flight response. Your brain screams, "Defend now," because your reputation feels attacked. Here's your move instead. Pause. Count to 3. Then say, "Let me check the facts. I'll follow up by 3 p.m. Watch what happens. You just went from reactive to strategic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You control your mind, not outside events." The public attack only works if you take the bait immediately. Same rule when your boss calls you out in team meetings, or when family criticizes you in front of others. The audience makes the pressure worse, but your response controls the outcome. Quick question. What's your biggest pressure situation at work? Drop a comment below. Trap 2. False urgency. Here's trap 2. Someone says, "I need your answer right now, or we move forward without you." That's fake pressure. They're shrinking your thinking time because rushed decisions help them, not you. Seneca knew this. Time is all we really own. When someone steals your thinking time, they steal your power to choose well. Here's what you say. "I'll have a complete answer by tomorrow morning." Notice, you're not saying no. You're setting professional limits around your decision process. False urgency feels real, but most urgent requests aren't actually urgent. They're just convenient for the person asking. Your colleague needs budget numbers right now for a meeting they've known about for weeks. Your client needs a proposal immediately for a deadline they set months ago. Your boss needs overtime commitment today for a timeline they control. Watch how this changes when you respond strategically. Instead of scrambling to meet their fake deadline, you give a realistic timeline for good work. 3 things happen. You keep your standards. You show executive presence. You make them work within professional boundaries. The amateur thinks speed equals skill. Wrong. Control equals power. Here's the power move. When someone creates fake urgency, you slow it down. When they demand instant answers, you buy thinking space. When they try to rush your decision, you expand it professionally. That's executive presence. You're not fighting the pressure. You're redirecting it. Trap 3. The bait question. Here's trap 3. The bait question. Someone asks, "Don't you think this project is too big for your team?" Notice what happened. They didn't ask about your timeline or resources. They asked you to agree that you're failing. That's bait. The question assumes failure. It wants you to validate their assumption. If you defend right away, you're arguing from weakness. If you agree, you just killed your own project. Here's your redirect. What specific concerns do you have about the timeline? Watch the power shift. You moved from defending yourself to gathering their real objections. You're not taking the bait. You're making them show their real agenda. Epictetus taught, "No one can hurt you without your permission." The bait question only works if you accept their frame. When you redirect, you control the conversation. Same trick when friends ask, "You're not really going to let them treat you that way, are you?" They're not seeking information. They're pushing you toward a response that serves their view. The amateur takes every question at face value. Smart professionals spot when questions contain conclusions. When someone asks, "Don't you think?" or "Wouldn't you agree?" or "Isn't it true that?" That's bait. Your response plan: pause. Find the assumption in their question. Then ask for specifics instead of defending against generalizations. Trap 4. The flattery setup. Now, trap 4. The flattery setup. Your boss says, "You're the only one who can handle this impossible deadline." Sounds like praise, right? Here's what actually happened. They used your skill against you. The flattery makes the unreasonable request feel like an honor instead of exploitation. Notice the pattern. First, they put you above your colleagues. Then they use that to justify an unreasonable ask. The flattery creates obligation. You don't want to disappoint someone who thinks highly of you. Here's the Stoic rule. Outside praise isn't under your control. When someone's praise comes with a request, the praise is manipulation, not recognition. Your response: "I appreciate that. Let me review what's realistic and get back to you." You acknowledge the flattery without accepting the obligation. You bought time to judge the request on its merits, not its packaging. The flattery setup works because it skips rational thinking. When someone calls you exceptional, your ego wants to prove them right. But exceptional performance isn't about accepting impossible standards. It's about delivering consistent excellence within realistic limits. Here's what changes when you spot this trap. Instead of feeling honored by the impossible request, you get curious about why they're using flattery to sell it. The difference between being valued and being used often comes down to this moment. When praise comes before pressure, pause. When flattery comes before a favor, slow down. Trap 5. The emotional hijack. Final trap: the emotional hijack. Someone attacks your character, your skills, or your values directly. Your family questions your life choices during an argument. Your colleague suggests you're not leadership material in front of the team. This is different from the public attack. The emotional hijack targets who you are, not what you did. It's designed to trigger immediate emotional defense of your identity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids, who doesn't look to see what his neighbor says." The emotional hijack only works if you believe their opinion matters more than your own principles. Here's your strategic pause: 3 seconds of silence before any response. Count them. 1, 2, 3. In those 3 seconds, your thinking brain comes back online. The emotional reaction fades. You remember that their opinion is their problem, not yours. Why emotional reactions prove their point. When you defend immediately, you signal that their attack worked. When you argue about your character, you show they have power over your emotional state. Strategic silence does the opposite. It signals unshakable confidence in who you are. It forces them to keep talking, which usually reveals their real agenda, and it gives you time to respond from strength, not weakness. The power of strategic silence. Here's the discipline that separates executives from amateurs: mastering strategic silence in every challenging conversation. The body reset happens in seconds. When someone triggers your stress response, silence gives your nervous system time to regulate. Your heart rate drops, your thinking clears, your voice steadies. The power dynamic shifts immediately. When you don't react, they have to fill the silence. Most people reveal more than they intended when forced to keep talking without a response. Your practice starts this week. Count to 3 before responding to any challenging statement. Not just big confrontations. Every pushback, every criticism, every pressure situation. Start with low-stakes talks. Your colleague complains about meeting times. Pause 3 seconds. Your friend criticizes your weekend plans. Pause 3 seconds. Your family questions your decision. Pause 3 seconds. Here are executive phrases that buy time without seeming evasive. Let me think about that. That's an interesting perspective. Help me understand your concern. Notice what these phrases do. They acknowledge the other person without agreeing or disagreeing. They create space for you to process. They keep you in control of the conversation flow. The executive presence benefit is immediate. Composure signals unshakable confidence. When you don't rush to defend, explain, or justify, you show that you're operating from strength. Volume isn't power, control is. The person who stays calm while others get emotional has the strategic advantage. The person who pauses while others react immediately shows executive presence. Here is your action plan. Strategic silence isn't avoidance, it's executive discipline. Practice the 3-second pause this week in every challenging conversation. Here's your homework. Notice when these 5 traps appear in your daily interactions. Spot the public attack. Recognize false urgency. Identify bait questions. See through flattery setups. Feel the emotional hijack coming. Then use your strategic pause. The difference between reactive professionals and strategic leaders isn't intelligence, it's discipline. The discipline to never answer immediately when the stakes are high. Start practicing today. Your executive presence depends on it. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom that builds unshakable leadership presence, and never forget. Executive by day, Stoic always.